Today I'm going to give you the Central Arkansas Austin Peay preview you never knew that you wanted or never knew that you would need. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, we're going to talk about Central Arkansas and Austin Peay opening college football weekend on Saturday. And I've asked Hero Sports senior writer Sam Herder to help me out with this preview. But first, a few things that we did not cover in our conversation. First is the quarterback duel that you're going to see. They're going to throw the ball all over the yard. Jeremiah Oatsvall threw for over 3,000 yards at Austin Peay last year. Breylin Smith threw for 283 or more in 8 out of 13 games, 3,700 yards passing last year. They're going to sling the ball around. Now, the spread is 4.5 points with an over-under of 42.5. I'm going to go with Central Arkansas to cover. I like what they return. I also really love Robert Rochelle, who you're going to hear more about when we talk with Sam Herder. I also want to highlight here, Austin Peay is coming off of its best season since 1977. They won the Ohio Valley Conference title at 7-1. They made an FCS playoff appearance. It's a big deal for Austin Peay. This is a neutral site game, but it takes place in the state of Alabama where they, play a little football there. Same thing with Central Arkansas, who is renowned for their striped field. We talk a little bit about that. But more than that, they love football there, and UCA is beginning a 9-game barnstorming season, for which I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. I've applauded them for trying to do this, and we're going to see how this goes. Now, as my man Spencer Hall said in the Shutdown Fullcast, it's like some sub-Ozark Ronin roaming the battlefield going, fight us, tackle us if you will. We are here to do battle, sir. Kids at Conway, Arkansas trying to get it done. Now, shout out to the kids at Russellville, where they have Arkansas Tech. Until I pay a little attention to Arkansas college football, I'm here for this. You also had with Jeremiah Oatsvall, 997 yards rushing, so he was a 3,000, 1,000 guy for all intents and purposes, 42 total touchdowns, 25. Now, if Central Arkansas can actually play a little defense, they'll be pretty good. They play in a great conference, the Southland, where I expect to hear good things. They are also going to forego playing spring football, so they're leaving it all out on the line starting on August 29th. One other thing that I did want to touch on before we get to our interview segment is the RJ Young Show podcast, which is on iTunes, or Apple, whatever the hell it is they're calling it now, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. I'm uploading there 3 times a week. Usually it's the live show, but I'm going to try to do a little something different every now and again where we have perhaps a one-off interview on a Saturday that will just be for that subscription model. If you leave a review there, okay? You leave a review there, and it's a good review. I'm going to try to read it on air here when we do the live shows, and I'm going to come up with podcast stickers for folks that want them, and, send me, like, the username that you used to leave your iTunes review, and we'll come up with those stickers because the stickers were a hit. I did not expect them to be that big a hit for the 50K, and for those of you that decided to join that, thank you so much. If you did not get your sticker, please let me know. I know that I got a couple returned to the P.O. box, and I'm trying to get that done. Also, you guys are awesome. Thanks for helping me with this, and more good news is on the way. All right, let's talk to Sam.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
I am joined by Hero Sports senior writer Sam Herder. We're going to talk a little Austin Peay, Central Arkansas. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Nah, man, look, I got to say, I have not been this excited about Central Arkansas and Austin Peay football ever. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, man. Well, from an FCS perspective, this is really a great matchup. 2 teams. We had Central Arkansas preseason ranked number 10, and Austin Peay was right behind them at number 13, I believe. So in the FCS world, this is a great matchup. But I think, just from a casual football fan perspective, neither team is a North Dakota State or a James Madison or the Montanas of the world. But at the same time, I think this is a great opportunity for the FCS because, this is going to be the first college sports action since March. And, we're all football starved, and we there's a few months where we weren't sure if we were going to see college football or not, and now all of a sudden this Saturday, 8 p.m. Central, right on ESPN, we're going to have some college football to watch, so I'm excited for it.
Amen to that, brother. Look, I went back and I did probably too much research about both of these teams. So there's a couple of dudes that I wanted to talk with you about. One in particular, cornerback for Central Arkansas, Robert Rochelle. This dude is one of Bruce Feldman's freaks, and I'd missed this, but 4.3 speed, 3.89 shuttle. His broad jump would be the fourth longest in combine history, and also 5 picks, 18 pass breakups, All-American. Apparently, the only thing not to like about him is people don't think he's 6'2", they think he's 6 feet, to which I'm going, when did corners not have to be any taller than 5'9"? I mean, is there somebody else that I'm missing here, maybe a Breylin Smith, or is that who you're watching too?
No, Robert is the premier guy to watch in this game. There's a lot of great players, but he is, I believe I saw, he's the number 2 small school NFL draft prospect right now, and that's only including seniors. So, I mean, if Trey Lance does decide to declare early, Robert Rochelle would bump down a little bit, but as far as seniors in the FCS this year, he is one of the top guys for an NFL draft prospect. But yeah, I mean, he's got, whether he is 6 foot or he is listed at 6'2", maybe somewhere in between, I don't know, but he's got great size, just a tremendous athlete. He's always, he shuts down his side of the field, and when teams do throw his way, he's shutting down the opposing receivers, and he plays in a conference, the Southland Conference, that has some really, really good wide receivers. So, I know he still will have that FCS label, but he does go up against some pretty good wide receivers throughout his career. So he's the real deal. I believe he's wearing number 9 again this year for UCA. So he's a player to watch. There's a chance he might not see a whole lot of action because maybe Austin Peay, just completely ignores him and doesn't try to throw at him. So, maybe he might have a quiet game, but I know pro scouts just love his talent and his ability to shut down his side of the field.
On the Austin Peay side of the football, the dude that drew my attention the most, rightly or wrongly, is 5'9", 285-pound Josephus Smith. Now, 18.5 tackles for loss, like 7.5 sacks in one season, was all Ohio Valley, if I have that correct. Tell me if I have it wrong. But okay, good, cool. I'm glad, because I made one gaffe the last time we talked, and I haven't forgotten about it. So knowing that, like that is an FCS dude to me. The dude that is undersized but can absolutely play some football. We have a bunch of those kids in the Oklahoma area, so I ride for them. Is there somebody else that I'm missing that sort of fits what we might think of as overlooked but can absolutely play some ball?
Yeah, I mean, Josephus, he is really, really fun to watch because he's a bit of a bowling ball in the middle of that defensive line. You said it, 5'9", 285 pounds, but he's not just a guy that plugs up the middle. I mean, he's active and he gets into the backfield, and he had a high number of TFLs, a high number of sacks last year. So he's a fun guy to watch as well. One guy, to flip on the other side of the ball for Austin Peay, Blake Mitchell is a guy. He played mostly center last year for Austin Peay, but I know he switched around and played some guard as well. So he'll be on the interior of the offensive line. But I mean, Austin Peay is in a conference, the OVC, the Ohio Valley Conference, where they take a decent amount of FBS transfers, just because they're in that neck of the woods, or maybe some guys didn't, they didn't see some playing time at the SEC level, or, maybe the Big 12. And Blake Mitchell last year transferred from, I believe, Mississippi State. He was a walk-on there, just wasn't, hard to get on the field. So he transferred over to Austin Peay last year and won that starting center position. But he's a guy that I think, I don't know if he'll be an NFL draft pick, but I know scouts like him. He's just a tenacious blocker, and he might be a guy that potentially could be, an undrafted free agent type guy. And there's a few other guys as well playing in this game that we might see in the league in a couple of years. I know Central Arkansas has a couple of really good wide receivers in Winningham and Hudson. They're both younger guys, but they've already caught the eyes of NFL scouts.
Austin Peay sounded like a old school Troy State there for a little bit, man. Like,
Yeah.
we don't care, man. You got a record, fine. Was it a felony? Okay, cool. You know, you didn't kill anybody. But also to this point, like playing in Alabama, playing in the state of Alabama, I think is really overlooked because you know the University of Alabama is it. Then there's Auburn, but North Alabama, South Alabama, Alabama State, Austin Peay, and then I looked at Central Arkansas's schedule, and they are going barnstorming, right? They're also got this real old school like 1920s. We're gonna play some teams that twice, Eastern Kentucky and Missouri State, of course, and then they have that showcase where they're going, no, we want the defending national champs. We want them fresh. We want them without having played anybody. Like I really love that they put this schedule together. What do you think about Central Arkansas traveling to Fargo to give everybody an opportunity to see North Dakota State play as well?
Yeah, I mean, I love what UCA is doing, and the FCS is interesting in the fact that every FCS conference has postponed their fall season and will play conference games in the spring, but they left it open for, or some conferences left it open for their teams to play 3 or 4 non-conference games in the fall. But I believe there are 3 teams, in Central Arkansas is one of them, where they basically said, no, we don't want to play in the spring. We're just going to go ahead and play, 8, 9, 10 non-conference games right here in the fall because we don't know if the spring football season is actually going to happen. And if we have the opportunity to play a season now, we're going to do so. And I mean, yeah, UCA, they have a couple of home and homes with FCS opponents. They have a handful of games against FBS opponents, which is always a great showcase game for these players. They have this Saturday, the only show in town on ESPN. And then, yeah, they go to NDSU and they're taking on the defending champs. I believe it's October 3rd. And I know a lot of the headlines were the fact that this is going to be Trey Lance's showcase game, but, obviously Trey Lance and Dylan Radins, the left tackle for NDSU, those are the first 2 guys that popped in my mind of, okay, maybe they can get some more games on film. But also, I mean, we already talked about Robert Rochelle, the big-time cornerback for Central Arkansas. And if he can be the first collegiate player to pick off Trey Lance, because we all know Trey Lance has yet to throw an interception at the college level. I mean, this is a big quote unquote showcase game for Rochelle as well, and some of those other Central Arkansas players that have some pro aspirations. So I love what the Bears are doing with their fall schedule to just say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and play 10, 11 games this fall, and we're gonna have a mix of the elite FCS teams, and then try to take down some FBS teams while we're at it.
So you bringing up this barnstorming schedule and UCA foregoing playing in the spring so they could do this thing right now reminded me a few years back, I want to say the 2013-2014 season of the Big South Gardner-Webb running Rebels. And I wanted to bring it up because their non-conference schedule was one that I just remember because they kept just putting just names back to back to back. I think they had Duke and North Carolina in the same season along with like a Missouri, a Northwestern, and Xavier, and on it goes, right? And they were basically doing this to, one, raise money, but also they took it as an opportunity to put themselves on national television in front of a bunch of kids that had never heard of Gardner-Webb and might actually give them a second look in ways that they might not have previous. And I wondered, do you think that that's the play, the long-term play, if you will, for a UCA, even saying we're not even going to try to go play for championships if they have championships to play for in the spring?
Yeah, I do think this is a bit of a long play for Central Arkansas as far as, they hope this season playing in this fall benefits them in their long run rather than, maybe playing a spring season and playing in the playoffs because, like I said, UCA was preseason number 10 for us. So they are, I don't think they're a national title contender just because they're not quite on NDSU's level, but they are a team that would be in the playoffs. But instead of trying to play for national championship, they just said, let's play in the fall and let's try to get some big time games, some big time exposure. And that's going to help us in recruiting. And we think in the long run, if we get our name out there, we get our brand out there, that, this is going to benefit us in the long run, rather than waiting until the spring to see if maybe we will play, maybe we won't play. So, it's I don't know if some of your listeners know about Central Arkansas's field, but they have the stripes. They call it. It's every 10 yards is gray, then it's purple, then it's gray, then it's purple. So I kind of wish this FCS kickoff game was at UCA, just so people could see that field, because it's really unique and it pops off. But this game is at a central, a neutral location. But I just think UCA is like I said, I like what they're doing because they're getting their name out there, they're getting their brand out there, and I think this should help them in recruiting this year and next year, just because more people will know about Central Arkansas football.
So Central Arkansas is the favorite in this game. Is that who you would pick to win it?
Yeah, we haven't come out with our official predictions yet. I have been leaning Central Arkansas this whole time. The last I checked, they were 4.5-point favorites. I do think it's going to be a good game, but Austin Peay. Both teams, I guess, have a decent amount coming back, but I like what Central Arkansas has coming back a bit more. They have a ton of experience. They're going to have an explosive offense. Defense returns something like 10 starters for UCA. They have a bit more stability. Austin Peay's head coach resigned just 1 or 2 months ago abruptly. So Austin Peay has an interim head coach. You just never know if that's going to have an effect or if that's not going to have an effect on this game or on the season at all. So I just like where UCA is at heading in this game. I'm kind of leaning toward the Bears and having the Bears win this one.
Yo, man, I'm a quarterback. I'm an offensive coordinator. I want to throw the ball around the yard. And when I looked at Breylin Smith, I saw 3,700 yards passing. I saw 32 touchdowns. I saw the over-under at 42.5. I'm going to expect 3 touchdowns out of this kid. I'm going to go with you. Well, I think what you're going to go with. I'm going to officially go with Central Arkansas in a nasty spread. 4.5 points. Who comes up with that line? Like 4.5? Like I can't. Dude, you're begging me to lose money on this, and yet I'm gonna pick Central Arkansas. Also, they recruit my kids heavily over in this area, so I want to see that. One of the stories I hear all the time is, RJ, have you seen the field? Yes, I've seen the field. It's sexier than Boise State's field. I said, I'm sure that it is, man. I'm sure that it is. The Utes at Conway take their football seriously. That is Sam Herder, the senior writer at Hero Sports. I've donated to the website because I really believe in the coverage that Sam and his colleagues perform over there. I mean, if nothing else, the payouts that they were able to list on that website as far as what the FCS teams stood to make from Power 5 games was worth its weight in gold for me. I'm talking like dollars here and there if you can, please. Sam, thanks so much, man.
Hey, I appreciate the plug right there, and I appreciate, once again, you having me on the show.
All right. Talk to you later, man.